We're walking over to the Wotawa house, or what's left of it. This is known as a dog trot house. Grandma and Grandma Wotawa obtained this property back in the early 1900s. When they moved here, the place was about 3 times the size that it is now. What you have here is basically a house is built with log and cedar, major cedar posts. It had, this side was the kitchen and summer kitchen. In the middle was what was called the breezeway or dog trot, and off to the left was the other side that matched up with this was the sleeping quarters, and each side had a loft. And as you can see, what is remained is about 1/3 of it. It's very, very old. My Grandma Wotawa has did much of her cooking and things here for many, many years. There is paperwork on this whole property from approximately 1865, so this place has seen a lot in its day. Around the sides, circling the house, are rails. These are old cedar rails that I went out and gathered a year or two ago. These rails were cut by hand by Grandpa. Each of these rails was cut individually by hand by Grandpa Wotawa and Uncle Bob approximately 70 years ago. I was glad to be able to find enough back in the original fence line, back in the cedar glade, to make a nice little fence, a replica of what things once were back here in the good old days. We can go inside now, and I'll give you a tour.
Grandma said about it.
She liked the rails. She liked them a lot. It took a couple of days of going out, pulling them up by hand, 3 or 4 at a time, a little hand truck, 4 or 5 at a time. And then I finished using a pickup truck. I was able to get a load or 2 at a time. So it was nice. Sure. We're in the Grandma Wotawa summer kitchen. She used to prepare food. She used to grind grain and things in here. This is an old grinder that is still usable. Off over here are some saws, some cross-cut saws that were used by Grandpa Wotawa. Very, very old. This is a grinder used for sharpening. It's a whetstone used for sharpening objects here, for knives and things, saws and what have you. And you can see the cedar post construction here. And you can go into the main kitchen area and a lot of junk. And you can see here is the remnants of the original stove that Grandma Wotawa used to cook on, prepared meals. I don't think it's all here, but it'd be interesting to try and clean it up someday and see what it looked like. You notice the white between the walls, and some of that is newsprint from old newspapers that Grandma Wotawa and Grandpa would take, and I believe they would do it every year, and put up and put some kind of a material there to have it harden, and it was used to keep drafts and things out. But you can see the large logs going horizontal that have stood the test of time for many, many, many years. The sleeping loft, or loft, used to be right up above here. Of course, it's long since gone. And as you can see now, this area is used primarily for just storage of very old items. Other folks, the plaster, which in fact is really in pieces of old newsprint. I could pull off a piece here, and I did this several years ago, and you can see that it talks about St. Louis grain cash market. This is old newspaper, and I pulled off I don't see a date on this one, but I pulled off one some time ago. It was an old Kansas City Star back in the 1930s, and you can see on the other side of it, it's white. It's the whitewash, and on this side you can tell it's really newsprint. And it was placed all along the walls here to make the old logs more airtight. But if these old walls and doors could talk, they would tell wonderful, wonderful stories of the Wotowas. I remember as a youngster, I used to come over here and explore, and there were many treasures over here that just fascinate me. One was an old trunk that has since been moved over, and I remember in the bottom of the old trunk was some, I believe it was Austrian money, some coins that have really no value now other than sentimental. But it's money that the Wotowas brought with them when they came to this country back in the early 1900s. But I remember in here used to be an old ball glove. Used to be an old ball glove, an old catcher's mask. I don't see it here now, but and there used to be, and they were used by Uncle Bob, I think. So an old catcher's mask. But I'll shut it up. More recently, the residents of this house have been at least a pair of groundhogs who live apparently under the house, and have enjoyed grandmother's tomatoes and other things that have been growing around here. And here comes some blue heelers. Hello, Chief. Come on, Chief. Come on, Chief. You want to jump up? Hey, let's have a good one. There you go. This is Chief. Hello, Chief. Yes. Say goodbye to everybody. Yes. Hi, Missy darling. Hello. Say, boy, I tell you guys. Say, we're a couple of blue heelers and we're fast. Yes, you are. Yes. If Chief is here, that means that Eric is here, if you want to go talk to Eric about horses or anything. But anyway, on the other side, on the west side of this house, I'll show you. Okay. On the west side of the house, several years ago, a large walnut tree was blown down in a storm, and it literally pushed over the top portion of the house, and you can see where it's moved several inches, 6 inches from the top section's about 6 inches further east than the rest of the main wall here. You can see the remnants of the tree that was cut up. But we were afraid that the place might fall down, but the old place just has got much more than any old walnut tree could offer, so that was nice. The large wheels over here were actually used by Grandpa Wotawa when he would cut hay. I believe that was wheels to a rake. Grandma can tell us if I'm wrong, but I think that's wheels to a rake. And there's several of them on the property, things that were actually used by Grandpa Wotawa. Several years ago, there was a gentleman stopped, a photographer from the Baxter Bulletin, was doing a feature on old properties and was impressed with the house and took some pictures here, and Grandma still has a picture of the front of this house as it appeared in the Baxter Bulletin several years ago. In fact, I think I have a blown up version of almost the same picture. And in this area, it's always been highlighted by very large cedar trees. There's 1, 2, 3 large cedar trees that have been here. Your grandma has indicated that they were this size when she was a young lady. So it's hard to say how old they are, but you can see how many times they've been struck by lightning. But they've also stood the test of time, stood them very well. And that's all I can offer right now. Cut.
We hope you enjoyed this video as much as we enjoyed making it. And now in closing,
thank you
Merry Christmas
and good night.